Morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I'm your host, Scott Ramp. I'm ushering you into the weekend. It is May 20th, and there's just definitely a lot going on, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening with MCAT as well. We're soon to be wrapping up our Saturday drop-ins, so we have 2 more sessions left tomorrow and then the next week. These are for kids age about 9 to 13 who are interested in stop animation, pixel animation, since a couple kids are jumping on that train as well. It's a great way for kids to kind of like come together and have an opportunity to have a creative space to create movies and stuff. So it happens every Saturday from 1 to 3 until next weekend, which is Memorial Weekend, in which the library will also be closed on Sunday, Monday. But that Saturday, we're going to be open for everything moving forward. So a lot of stuff like that. MCAT, we are doing a series of live streams. Of course, you know, we've had a recent uptick in live streams because of the pandemic, and after the pandemic is starting going through its ending phases and with little bumps here and there. I'm not going to get too much into it, but MCAT's been utilizing our live stream capability and helping many local nonprofit organizations. In recent memory, Missoula Gives, we helped them raise over $1.2 million, not gloating. And then we also have all those candidates forums. So we've done, so far, I believe we've done 3 candidates forum for U.S. Congress. No, 2 for U.S. Congress, and then 1 for the state legislature and Senate, House and Senate of the state of Montana. And we've done 2 of them here at the public library. I expect we're doing another one pretty soon. We're doing another live stream next Monday for the law school graduates as well. So there's definitely a lot going on, and this weekend I'm going to be heading up to Hamilton, Montana to do the America's Super Ms. pageant. And so it's just one of the many pageants that happens in Montana to get accredited for the Miss Montana pageant. It's basically, a lot of the women have to do a bunch of these kind of sessions and whatnot. But I don't know too much about that, but I just wanted to know a little bit about that, and I wanted to talk a little bit more back to the candidates. And we recently did one with Forum Montana, where we actually had not only the Democratic candidates, but some of the independent and GOP candidates at the Imagination Brewing Company. Then we did one here at the library, which is just the Democratic Forum, in which we had the 3 candidates running for the Democratic seat for U.S. House in the Western District. So, you know, of course, I've probably said this many times before, and you probably already know this, and I'm going to beat this like a dead horse, but, you know, Montana now has 2 congressional seats, 1 in the west, 1 in the east. East is pretty much divided through the Rocky Mountains, and Missoula encompasses Missoula County, Kalispell, Butte, and Bozeman for the Western District. So there's just a lot of areas that are being covered as well. And yep, we're going to see how it all turns out. I don't want to talk about who's running or anything like that, because it really doesn't. I really don't want to talk about it. Okay, so NPR reported last week after the Buffalo shooting that America now has an average of 10 mass shootings a week. Mass shootings are characterized in the simplest of minimum 3 to 4 people. So far, America has reached 198 mass shootings in 2022 alone, with 2021 ending with 693 mass shootings per gun violence per the Gun Violence Archive. The year before saw 611 in 2020, mind you, and 2019 had 417. So unfortunately, most of these mass shootings had a series of warning signs that could have been prevented, but in many cases, it always comes down to believing their own family members could never and would never, which brings me back to the Buffalo shooting. Was in fact live streamed, they live streamed their attack, but Twitch took it down right away. Buffalo, New York, Saturday, the gunman, 18-year-old Peyton Gendron, drove 200 miles to what he said was the highest concentrated number of black people per capita, and he opened fire at a local supermarket. Later, investigators found a 180-page manifesto through 4chan, a social media site that in this manifesto targeting folks who are not white, and in a conspiracy that America was bringing in illegal immigrants to get Democrats in office. The signs were clear from the start when about a year ago he threatened to shoot up a school, to which he was sent to a mental health evaluation which lasted a day and a half. So there's definitely a lot going on here, and it's definitely a national tragedy. And President Joe Biden this week also visited the site of the mass shooting to show support for the families. In national news, Elon Musk may not be buying Twitter and decided to put that on hold. So this is more tech news. This is over spam and fake accounts. This is basically a way to determine whether Twitter's actually worth the $40+ billion that they claim, or it's part, or this is a part of the acquisition, looking into the assets, liability, hence the comprehensive look into accounts that may not exist, putting the company under a microscope to determine if Twitter has the level of influence they claim to have. It's smart and could show the truth, which Twitter has a tendency to copy and paste information that may be misleading. Twitter is not without controversy, and Elon Musk's biggest motivator is free speech and the possibility to curb markets and trade on Wall Street, which Elon does in the past when he announced he was investing in Dogecoin some time ago. So, of course, I'm not a Wall Street guy or business owner, but it seems like there seems to be a trend bolstering to manipulate the market and value of Twitter. So there's definitely a lot of stuff and a lot of moving parts with that. So it's like, I want to do this, but then it's like, okay, buyer's remorse while you're in the acquisition phase. And it's like, okay, I got to really think about this. So that's kind of what's happening there. So one thing that's happening in the world today, of course, one of the bigger things that are happening is the war in Ukraine. So one of the things is that Sweden and Finland wanted to join NATO, and recently Turkey rejected Sweden and Finland's bid to join NATO. Turkey President Tayyip Erdogan said that those countries house terrorism. So, however, earlier in the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Turkey wanted to broker a peace deal between the two countries, and by having the two countries join is making tensions much higher, since Russia claims that claims that Ukraine shouldn't join NATO. They were going to basically align themselves with the West, and the Russia would just not have that, in which, of course, the Russian invasion happened. And there's just a lot of moving parts with this. And of course, the U.S., however, is ever encouraging to countries that wish to join NATO. It also goes to show that the U.S. interests have aligned with the Ukraine conflict by adding the additional $40 billion to the war effort backing Ukraine. So there's a lot going on, but let's go back to Turkey. Turkey itself has been a member of NATO since 1952 and has some very close ties with Germany, Russia, and many other northern European countries. NATO has been essential for security and defense for Turkey, and with things with Ukraine going the way it is going, with other border countries are tired of what ifs and are now taking steps to secure the border with Russia. So all 30 NATO members must unanimously give a green light for two historically neutral countries to join the NATO alliance. And that's kind of what's happening in the more recent news today. There's definitely more going on. I suggest you guys check it out as well. I always subscribe to Channel 4 News through the YouTubes and also Breaking Points, just to get a nice little scope of different things happening there. I touch base with NPR now and again, Washington Post, and various other things, just to kind of get an idea where the narration is kind of going with that, and then kind of delivering you guys a certain idea of the news. But up next, I have a clip from an art installation I've shown before, but I want to warn you about it because it has a graphic nature of content, because it depicts crimes against humanity in times of war. Here's Brian McGuire at the Missoula Art Museum. Hey folks, welcome back. Let's talk about some movies that are coming out this weekend. It's time for Pre-critic, where I prejudge a movie based on absolutely no context whatsoever. And speaking of the absolutely definition of no context, Downton Abbey. Yes, I thought this was like their only movie, but apparently this is a kind of like a sequel movie or whatever. But when a series gets popular enough to make a movie, they tend to lean towards spectacle. Unclench your pearls because you're about to get a series of fast-paced, slow-moving staff of Downton Abbey as they host parties and high-profile British royalty and lords that have influence over England or whatever. But ignore all that for some drama between cleaning staff and cooking staff trying to put the best dinner on ever, the movie. Madam Maggie Smith is back in this sassy savage role that made her a household name well beyond the Harry Potter films. Actually, wait, this came after the Harry Potter films. Like I said, I don't know anything about these roles or anything like that, but this is a movie that's coming out as well, and I guess Maggie Smith's character inherits like a beach villa in like France or whatever, and everyone's like, ooh, let's all go there, and everyone just kind of goes there and puts on a dinner and has drama in the kitchen. I don't know. There you go, Downton Abbey. Up next, we have Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Hey, who liked the cartoon in the 90s? Most 90s kids. But from the minds of the Lonely Island bands comes Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers on a reality show type movie which basically makes fun of itself in a whole Who Framed Roger Rabbit type world with a hint of CGI monstrosities that we came to know and love through Space Jam 2. Enjoy two chipmunks as they reconnect after falling out and have a buddy comedy, road trip, mystery, blend new school with old school with also being very meta because, you know, it's kind of like a reality show. They're pointing fun at themselves. You've probably seen the trailer. It was like one of them is cartoonish. The other one's like a CG character. And then, you know, in the trailers they talk about it, it's like, I got the CG treatment. I mean, I really think this is a lot of runoff just from the Space Jam movie, just straight up. Like, they're just like, oh, Space Jam 2 is going to be the best movie ever, and it's going to open a whole new world of movies. Welcome to Chip 'n Dale. Up next, we got a horror film. Hey, you know, forget the horrifying creatures that are the chipmunks, and let's talk about the horrifying creature known as men. You like Ex Machina, and you tolerated Annihilation, and there's a talking bear in that one. Get ready for Men. I have no idea what this movie is about, but I'm going to guess that the men in this town, that the main character goes on a soulless husks, pretending to be the perfect man. Single lady goes to a small town and basically gets forced into a relationship and judging by the poster, all seems well until she plays ball. But don't make them mad because abusive relationships are 5% abuse and 95% hostility leading up to the abuse. Anyways, watch this movie that will trigger some women to survivors of abuse. Sorry. But it's science fiction and it's just a movie. But for some reason, I guess there's one guy who's playing a lot of the men characters. And yeah, so anyways, yeah. Up next, we got a brand new dubbin stuff for you guys, and it's featuring an old kind of a, I want to say Godzilla-esque movie. So this movie is from the 1968 movie Destroyer of Worlds.
We are a couple nautical miles away from the target. Stand by. Do you really think we should leave kids unattended in a submarine? Your mic's on. Oh.
Should we be worried about that last transmission?
Don't be stupid.
Asking questions isn't stupid.
Oh, geez. Something's wrong with the numbers, co-captain. Don't worry, crew. We're just switching to autopilot, and we'll turn the alarm on silent.
Oh, geez,
so
look, it's the proximity alarm. Look over there. Look, it's a monster. Nice. I don't know. Should we really be? Oh, geez, he's huge.
Don't worry about it, co-captain.
Will you stop calling me co-captain?
Hey, I was here first, so therefore
What do you mean here first?
Just shut up and do your job. Click.
Oh, I just love a parade. Oh, hey, Sakura.
Oh, hey.
Ooh, who is it? My brother. Oh, you think I should answer it?
Yeah.
Hey, sister, I'm underwater.
What did I say about calling me? I have plans with my friends.
But you don't understand, my darling sister.
Oh, could you tell her hi for me?
Is that your dumb friend Samuel?
Yeah,
Did you just tell him to get off the line?
Wait till you see this picture, Sakura.
You're trying too hard.
Oh, what? What did that thing just say to me? I'm feeling attacked.
Nonsense. This is a a majestic creature.
Now you listen here, Yoshi. You be safe down there.
Well, listen there, Cadet. We got some bad news. You're gonna have to put it on manual to get out of that situation. Don't worry about me, Scout Leader. I got this all covered. And it's just a
Down high
beautiful
for me.
turtle. It's like a giant turtle underwater.
Taking
It's
pictures.
pretty great.
I told you, you have to get out of there. You're messing with that creature's ecosystem.
Well, isn't that where the sound bounces off and you can hear your own voice?
Oh, I think you're right. Don't worry, we're perfectly safe. And this giant turtle's really cool. It's not doing anything.
Ecosystem? I think you mean that would be like an ecosystem, but that doesn't work. An ecosystem is not a thing.
Oh, just ignore them. They'll leave me alone.
I like turtles.
Now, go. Way. Jeez. Come on now. They'll get theirs. I swear.
Hey guys, welcome back. Now it's time for me to talk about some city council. We're kicking things off with some information about that new substation that they plan to build out near Caris Park, and Amber Sherrill is concerned and worried.
It is not necessarily in the area that we would all first choose because it is in East Caris Park, but this was found to be the best option of that is available for this project. We have a lot of construction going on in that area, including the bridge. I'm happy that we'll be able to do some restoration work after this is done, and obviously we just need to continue to provide electricity to everyone, even though we wish it was cleaner than it is right now. So thank you.
Okay, so that was Amber Sherrill talking a little bit about that. And just some little bit of context with this particular thing that's happening. Northridge Energy put a bid in and be like, hey, we need to update kind of like a power line, but we also need to implement a substation. Substations are used to help mitigate safe electricity to households and places downtown. And Caris Park, as you may know, have had comprehensive construction to the bridge and Caris Park Pavilion. David Selvig, Park Service and System Superintendent, is on board with this because they had other options, but found this one in the park as the best option for everybody.
We did decline to use the parking lot. Parking director Ian Ortlieb felt that with the MDT lease, that was already took up a huge amount of space, and we had 70 car park spaces with leased tenants that were difficult to move at best to find an alternative. And so with that, we were pushed into using the park.
All right, so that's one of the things. One of the city council members, however, so far, David also mentioned, before I get into the city council member, David also mentioned that Northwestern would put cash in hand, cash up front for the trees being removed, and based on their value, it's about $20,000. Sounds like quite a bit for a tree, but the power of synergy, which, one project happens in the city, is known to kind of jump on other projects to get one on top of another, so of the proposed one as well. So there's definitely a lot of hitching other construction wagons to other constructions moving forward. City council member Danny Carlino was not happy on the consensus that was made in letting Northwest Energy take up this space, because it's just less and less green space for Missoulians.
Yeah, I mean, with a company like Northwestern Energy, who's got a 20-year plan to make their greenhouse gas emissions go up and build a bunch of pipelines under our rivers in Montana, I just have a hard time thinking that this is the most suitable site through Caris Park and letting them take even more, like a public park for another 10 months. So I just am not going to be supporting this today in hopes that we would have chosen one of those parking lot sites. But I do understand that you looked pretty hard into finding other sites, Mr. Selvage, so I appreciate that, and onward.
Yep. All right, so let's see here. Daniel brought up the fact that there were some possibilities with the using the parking lot, but with MDT's use of many of the spaces, there are a lot of other factors beyond trees, but individuals and leaser. So I believe that there are about 2 or 3 trees needed to be removed for the substation. This would be a substation, was meant to carry safe electricity. And now we moved on to a comment by a city council member who is opposed to sidewalks in the Eaton Street area, the place where I live.
Okay, well, so I spoke about this on Wednesday, and we did have one neighbor on Eaton Street that reached out his very large frustrations on this increase in the bid for it. He was talking with his neighbors and said that a lot of the neighbors could not afford this and did not want the sidewalks if it would be at this cost. And also mentioned that maybe if we could postpone this until construction costs go down, but just put it down the road for a later date. And I agree with that. I might vote for it in the future because I do really like sidewalks. You know, they are very necessary, and they are needed at some point, but not at the homeowner's financial detriment. So I will not be supporting this today.
Yeah, at the start of the kind of the presentation of this a couple weeks ago, they mentioned that it would be $86,000 of the general area near where the sidewalks would be built, basically the length of Eaton Street, and ideally this is actually much cheaper than it would have been if they didn't get additional grants and other funding sources for this particular project, but they just needed that extra $86,000 of the people in the area taxes just to get it where it is today. So if we were to quantify the number and divvy it up amongst evenly throughout the neighbors, the costs are about $9,000 per household. And through this Monty Sip, he was one of the managers, and he's a big, huge development person in the city, working to get sidewalks where they need to be, update some roads and safety for pedestrians and stuff like that. And so he mentioned that there would be a scale of 8-year or 12-year or as much as 20 years. And Monty Sips talks about some of the breaks that people can have as homeowners in the area as well.
We also have some deferral options that are open up to single-family residential. We have a low-income deferral program for owner-occupied single-family, and also a high assessment deferral, so they would assess up to $6,000, and the remaining principal they would defer until the time of the sale of the home.
And also, he didn't mention this as well, but if you are an aging adult, there are many options for seniors. Go to the state website and see if you qualify for tax incentives. Fixed incomes can be a little lighter on taxes. So the elderly homeowner/renter credit is a Montana income tax credit up to $1,000 for seniors who rent or own a home in Montana, even if they don't have an income. So a lot of opportunities there with that on a state level, but then also he mentioned the deferral. And like I said, $86,000 for the comprehensive sidewalk, and how much the taxpayers of the general area off Eaton Street will have to contribute. And if they were to do the 20-year plan, it would be $450 a year. So that is quite a chunk. And usually it's biannual taxes, which is basically paid twice a year, and it's split into half. So I did a little bit of the math, and that is probably the cheapest option they have there, which can be a bit for sure. But then again, renters don't have to worry as much unless the landlord jacks up the rent because of this. So there's always that option, and Missoula is a landlord market. Which also brings me to my next thing. Mike Nugent, city council member, gave a sobering statistic on the renter versus homeowner in the city of Missoula.
I've had an opportunity the last couple of weeks to have really good conversations about housing with several people in the community doing good work on the topic. And I think that one thing that I think maybe some people don't realize is the percentage of home ownership in Missoula is starkly different than both national and the state levels. According to the last census, the national home ownership rate is 64.8%. The Montana rate is 68.5%, and the Missoula rate is 47.4%. And any economic study you look at says that the opportunity for home ownership is the single best opportunity for most individuals to build any wealth or any nest egg or any ability to protect themselves if something major goes wrong. And I think that, as we're having these conversations, I know people might get sick of me bringing this up, but that's something that we just have to keep in mind. We need to do more to create home ownership opportunities.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, it also harkens back to housing is an issue if you haven't already guessed. This is coming from a homeowner, and all I can say is to spectate in these day and age. And overall, work in Missoula is slim and getting slimmer because Missoula is not known for major export of goods. Tourism is our big money maker, which poses, like, I'll pose you this question before we move on to housing redevelopment and community programs, community meeting, is that in a place that emphasizes tourism and jobs in service industries, are those wages keeping locals in Missoula? As for community meetings, this community meeting will look into handling safe and affordable housing, and I'm going to highlight the 10-year plan to end homelessness. So far, it's up on the update, and so far they this is an evaluation of the 2012 plan that they said in 2012 it was their 10-year plan to end homelessness. It's 2022. Here's Brian Green, PhD, is the project director handling this research, and this is what he had to say.
We want to try to use participatory-based research approaches, and we won't go into this too much, but really it's, are there individuals with lived experience who could work with us in conceptualizing some of the research questions? They could contribute some perspective to the design. That's separate from people who will be involved in the interviews, but in some other projects we found, it helps us come up with questions we wouldn't have thought of just on our own. If this is possible, and clearly, if we don't feel like there are people to do that, no problem. And then really the goal is to see if there are overlaps or contradictions in perspectives about the system in Missoula and the shifts and changes of the last 10 years between those who provide care or work within the system and those who receive services from it.
All right, so basically it was a clarification of a clarification. And as we move forward into doing more meetings about talking about ending homeless system, but I hate to say this, it's kind of a repeat of the previous plan while trying to incorporate what we already learned. Even Mike Nugent, City Council, spoke about the amount of people who are renting compared to the homeownership, which is pretty bad compared to the rest of the state and the country as well. Amber Stero reflects on the trend the last couple of years, and this is what she had to say in terms of housing.
I mean, I feel like in the last couple of years, in anything that I've been involved in, the playing field has, the earth has kind of shifted underneath us with this global pandemic, and especially with this type of work. So being able to change course or add things or whatever it is needed, I just think that this is a really important time that we do this work and figure out how things have shifted underneath us.
Simply put, it's easy to blame the pandemic because it's really showed the cracks in those living paycheck to paycheck and how their livelihoods and financial safety nets were diminished through the last year. And those who saved up are now dealing with this rise in inflation costs and everything like that. This whole meeting was kind of a bummer and just another take on how they are still collecting data from the last 10 years while also exposing the cracks in our economy that the poor folks living in Missoula have been falling through. It's very unfair. And I understand that they are trying their best to do what they can, but I feel like they're just hiring more and more people to just talk about it and just like quantify the data when it comes to handling folks. But when it comes down to it, like I think personally, I'm going to kind of go off topic, is like I think there should be more support systems in place to help the people, and the people who are the ones that are supporting the people should be being paid king's ransom in a way. So they can continue working on these services. And it's a daunting and tiring task. Like case managers, like I've known a couple of them, and they get burnt out really easily. So there's just a lot of issues, a lot of moving parts, and it's always nice to have a team of people who can help a lot of these folks who are dealing with homelessness or on the verge of it as well. And let's talk about community of the whole. We get an update from Missoula Aging Services because this also takes into account that City of Missoula is an ever-growing city, but in terms of baby population, not so much compared to the elderly population. So Lisa Shepard, the new Chief Executive Officer at Missoula Aging Services, talks about the ever-growing aging population.
I think it's really important for us to talk about this because it paints a bit different picture of our community than we might be used to, you know, especially given that this is a university town like the one that I grew up in. And it really underscores, I think, the need for us to plan for a healthy and inclusive future that includes people of all ages. And many of you may have heard terms like the graying of America or the silver tsunami. And you may also have heard that 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 every day. And by 2030, all baby boomers are going to hit that milestone. But what you may not know is that by 2034, which is not all that far away, there are going to be more Americans who are the age 65 and up than there are under the age of 18. And that has never happened before. And the fastest growing group of older adults is those who are 85 plus. So we are all moving in that aging direction.
All right. So one thing one thing that I definitely knew just from growing up here in Missoula is that there's not a lot of things keeping us youngins around the city of Missoula. You know, you have your college, so you have part-time young people in the city of Missoula, but if they want to stay here, they got to struggle. So it's definitely not really a good reason to kind of stay in Missoula and kind of start a family. But I have noticed even well into the late 90s, early 2000s when I was growing up here is that Missoula has always had a fairly large Asian population, and the only people who can afford to live in Missoula are people who come to retire here. And you know, sure, we've seen the uptick in some people trying to get out of the bigger cities just to get away from the hustle and bustle of big city life, while taking advantage of some of the lower costs of housing in the state of Montana compared to places like California. So boomers are also on the verge of retirement in many instances, and the low amount of workers are symptoms of an American population that is vastly larger than the generation that succeeded them. Something I've been speaking about during morning show, news, everything like that, but Missoula Aging Services claims within the next 10 years or less, Missoula senior population increased by 20%, which from the video that you just saw, it already has increased by 40% in the last 10 years alone. So 35% of the households in Missoula have some adult 65 and older. So that means 1 in 3 people in 1 in 3 home has an elderly person 65 and older. Just think about that in the city of Missoula. So Meals on Wheels has been a staple of our aging community to provide nutritious meals to elderly adults since 1970s, which Richard Nixon signing in the Older Americans Act of 1960. Oh, actually, he didn't sign. He updated the signage in the 1970s for the nutrition meal, which tagged on part of the Older Americans Act of 1965 and established the National Nutrition Program for seniors 60 years and older, which morphed into what would be called Meals on Wheels. I did a nice piece for the Missoula Aging Services a couple of months ago celebrating the 50th anniversary of the nutrition program. So Lisa talks about many of their funding sources, and this is what she had to say.
This is how we do what we do, and so you can see that we have quite a bit of diversified sources of funding, including from the city, so thank you very much for that. And we have federal money, state money, county money, from funding from private individuals and foundations. But other thing that I always like to point out is that a lot of our funding also comes from the people we serve. So everyone we serve has the opportunity to contribute to the cost of the services that we provide. And some of that is through a sliding fee scale, and some of that is through donations. But it allows people to pay what they can afford, and that helps them, but it also stretches our budget and helps us serve more people who need it.
All right, so one of the big things that Missoula Aging Services does is that helps keep older adults inside their homes, and also provide support for folks as well, especially if family members are far and few in between, and distance keeps them away. Missoula Aging Services also provide programs that helps in-house services, some in-house living care for a lot of aging adults who need the extra attention. And then there's some adults who are very independent, but they utilize the Meals on Wheels program so they can get cheap to no-cost meal to provide a healthy nutrition throughout this week, because sometimes going out can be a chore for sure. So let's see here. Where was I? Well, that pretty much does it for my city council clips I have to show you. But before I wrap up, I also mentioned that the Missoula Aging Services also has a bid on for updating their levy, because they get county money, as they said in their funding deal, is that they get about, hold on, let me refer to my notes real quick before I jump out here as well. So just over $300,000 a year through the county taxes, through 2 mill levies. This new proposed levy would get rid of the previous levy that was going to end about 5-8 years from now, and they want to replace it with another 20-year levy, which would have 4 levies with a total of $500,000 of guaranteed income for the Missoula Aging Services to be part of their budget moving forward. So, and continue and expand based on the current trends in our older population. And she also mentioned that the Meals on Wheels program during the pandemic saw a 66% increase in usage, and so there's just a lot of stuff going on there as well. And I don't want to, sway or dissuade anyone voting on this levy, but they've been really pushing for this, and they want to help Missoula seniors as much as they can. And there's, whether you vote for it or not, they will continue helping seniors in the city of Missoula. So up next, I have another art clip featuring Ellen Ornitz, and this is called the exhibit Fossils. All right, welcome back. Now it's time for the last part of my show, and if you've stuck around long enough, you guys get to hear what's kind of going on in the city of Missoula in terms of just, finding out some fun events and things to do and all sorts of things like that. There's a Summer Maid Fair happening June 19th. I just see it on the Missoula Events website as well, so it's definitely a fun thing to do. And also, I also wanted to give a shout out to 406families.org. It's a blog made by Missoula women and their families to help promote many of the summer camps throughout the Missoula County area. And we also partnered with them as well, as like where we paid for advertising through 406 Families to promote our summer camps. So there's a lot of summer camps, a lot of camps going on, and as soon as June starts coming around, you're going to start noticing it's like, oh no, we're running out of time. We got to figure out exactly what the heck we're going to do with our kids. So there's a lot of great opportunities, and I always try to promote people's like, hey, if you want to know what's kind of camps and summer camps there are, and also some food trucks, 406families.org. So let's talk about some of the things. MissoulaEvents.net, we're jumping right in there, and this is ongoing with Missoula in Motion. Bike Month Missoula is ongoing throughout this month of May. If you're interested in yoga, Rocky Mountain Ballet Theater is doing continuing yoga with Harriet, and this is part of the Red Willow additional learning and activities kind of stuff. So Red Willow and Learning Center is our two organizations that are bent on continuing education classes and additional training for people who have a little bit more free time and they want to pick up a new skill or just have an excuse to work out with other people. So, and speaking of working out with other people, Stroller Strides, it's a continuation. They do this pretty much most days during the week, and this is that happens every most mornings at 9:30 a.m. at Toole Park. And young mothers, they have strollers, and they also have some additional care to keep an eye on your kids while you do your workout. So it's fun and it's ongoing, so they just keep doing it. So family fun time at Mismo Gymnastics starting at 9:30 this morning, as well as Missoula Museum Public Hours at the Spectrum Discovery Center, which opens at 10 a.m. Spectrum opens around 10 a.m. and they're open from Tuesdays through Saturdays. A lot of science, hands-on exhibits on the second floor of the public library. And also on the second floor of the public library, Tiny Tales and Story Time, a great way for kids to do some reading and some learning and stuff like that. Missoula Food Bank will also be at the Missoula Public Library as a stop shop for kids 18 and younger who want free lunches and free meals provided to them through the Missoula Food Bank network. So that's this is just one of the places that they do it, but they have many other places, and a lot of schools are utilized for these kind of programs as well. And if you are in the flagship program for summer camps and stuff like that, they also utilize the Missoula Food Bank. So Missoula Food Bank is a very important thing in the city of Missoula. They do not discriminate based on economic income, and so anybody can just go there and pick up some groceries and head on out. So. And also, Missoula Food Bank also has a place called Empower Place, which is a mixture of the library, Tiny Tales, Story Time, and also some Spectrum science exhibits. Empower Place is a nice part of the food bank, which is also a quasi-convention center, which they also have a kitchen on their second floor, which is beautiful, and they have demonstration kitchens and fun stuff like that. And they also have a lot of things. So Lifelong Learning Center is doing a planting a hanging basket. This is part of one of their many programs, like the Learning Center, Red Willow, many different adult education type classes. And they also have, and they're located off of 3rd Street on the old school that's still owned by MCPS, but is rented out to these organizations for like night school classes and preparing and tradesmen, silversmithing, all sorts of fun things that they have there for people who are interested. All right, so let's kind of skip ahead. Yarns and watercolor at noon today on the 4th floor of the library, as always. You know, Robert P. does the watercolor and painting class. Yarns is for anybody who just wants to drop in and hang out with a bunch of people and knit and crochet and all that stuff. Maggot Fest is happening this weekend, so I'm not going to be downtown this weekend, that's for sure. Maggot Fest is a rugby tournament that hosts at Fort Missoula Regional Park. It's definitely PG 21 and up. But yeah, Maggot Fest is an ongoing tradition here in the city of Missoula, and rugby is a big part of Missoula, and we get a lot of international invites from all across the globe, and we've had some people from Australia come down here, so it's going to be a fun time, and they're kicking it off at noon today at Fort Missoula Regional Park. Planting a hanging basket, I don't want to talk about that. All right, so if you're a young adult and you want to improve your writing skills, Missoula Public Library starting at after school this afternoon at 3:15. The Young Adults Writers Group is a great way for kids to improve their writing skills and touch base with library staff and get some help writing their short stories or books or whatever. Let's see. Karis Park is doing something called Bacon and Brews. It's going to be kind of like probably one of those kind of one of those mini brew fest kind of outdoor activities. Karis Park has been hosting a couple events despite a lot of the construction that are around there, but they've been able to utilize and still open up. Higgins Bridge is on the verge of just popping open, so we're just at the point in which the summer activities are going to start going into full swing, and we're going to have a beautiful Karis Park moving forward. All right, let's see here. What other stuff is happening in virtual reality. If you're interested in doing some virtual reality gaming stuff, like MCAT hosts a virtual reality session pretty much most days during the week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with an emphasis on moving forward after school in June, which is going to be more Monday through Thursday with the Saturday component, and then Friday is just not going to happen. Let's see. Treasure State Super Draft softball tournament is happening in Fort Missoula Regional Park tonight at 6 p.m. as well as the Benevolent Concert is going to be at VRTX Fitness. It's going to be some folk music starting at 6 p.m. Wolf and the Moons, 10 Spoon Winery, Mark Chase, Highlander Beer, Cheap Date Night, Missoula Public Library, they're doing licorice pizza. Citizen Cope is going to be at the Wilma. It's going to be some rock music. Couples Class, Heart Galaxy, Painting with a Twist, is doing a kind of a couples class. So if you want an idea for a date night, that's a perfect idea for it. Do some painting, hang out, and all that stuff. Or if you're interested in history, for history buffs, Missoula Public Library hosts a discussion a lot of different times. Check the library's calendar, but they're having one tonight at 7 p.m. at the Missoula Public Library. You guys should be in attendance. We also film it through MCAT as well, and it's a great opportunity to learn about history. And we also did one recently posted on our YouTube site. I believe it was about the internment camp at Fort Missoula Regional Park. Yeah, so a lot of great programming that we provide here through the community. So here are some of the other things that are happening late night here in the city of Missoula. Red Onion Purple album release party is going to be at Free Cycle tonight at 7 p.m. Live music with the Cahoots is at the Jack Salon Country Music, 7 p.m. Kyle Unroe and Stephen Hesla is going to be at the University of Montana, so we're going to some classical music. Stephen Hesla is someone I know, and he's a great pianist. Blue Shadows at the Old Post. Joan Zen band is going to be at Union Club, so that's going to be a fun night at the Union Club tonight. A double-decker party is going to be at Monk's, and their DJ electronic music. So those are your events that are happening for Friday. As we jump into our Saturday events, I also wanted to mention that Farmers Market is in full swing. You guys can check out the Farmers Market. It happens on most Saturdays from 8 a.m. to about 1 p.m. Some markets might close a little bit early. It depends upon the market. I know that the ones by the Red X's say 12:30, but they usually have some time after while they wrap up. But the prime time to really kind of go is between 8:30 and about 10:30, and then it really starts popping off with a lot of people around here as well. So definitely a suggestion I would suggest for some of the early birds who just want to avoid the crowds. 22nd annual Bike for Shelter. I did an interview with Bike for Shelter folks, and they spoke about this opportunity to provide donations and raise awareness about how important Washington Children's Shelter is. It provides a safe shelter for kids 14 and under whose families are going through a tremendous time in their lives, and just overall support system. Missoula, let's see. One of the many things that are also happening as well is that Heroes at Home, it's the Armed Forces Salute. Rocky Mountain Museum of Military History is hosting Heroes at Home, and part of this is, let's see, please share with veteran service members and their families, caregivers, and everyone who supports them. Load the page. 0900 set up for personal providers, veteran-friendly employers, and veteran-owned businesses. There's no fee table. However, you must RSVP to Snellable at montana.gov or bring your canopy table and chairs to set up on the lawn. So the opening ceremonies is at 10 o'clock. Veteran Suicide Awareness Prevention, Run, Walk, Ruck. Register, and it's at 10:30 p.m. Free food while supplies last, starting at 11, and then they have outside lawn open air events, all sorts of activities and displays happening from 11 to 11 to 4 p.m. And yeah, they put military time on there, so it kind of threw me off. Let's see, and some of the other things that are happening as well is that I believe the Missoula Art Museum is doing a teen open studio, so teens interested in doing some art and stuff like that. The Missoula Art Museum provides supplies for kids and also some snacks. Something that MCAT doesn't do for our Saturday drop-in, which is basically just a creative space for kids to come in and do some stop animation and more through MCAT. And this happens from every Saturday from 1 to 3 until next weekend, the 28th, in which it will be our last for the summer. It's just how we hustle for the summer camps. Let's see. Yeah, there's a D&D for teens, 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon. You know, community radio membership meeting is going to meet at Free Cycles. So if you are a part of the community radio, Missoula Community Radio, they're hosting a membership meeting. They're also moving into our new location here at the MCAT studios. So they'll have a little bit less space, but they'll also have some more opportunities and more wiggle room to do some more productions as well here. So there's a lot of great opportunities. And they're getting a lot of great equipment to boot. All right, let's see. Yeah, a lot of different things happening as well. And if you are interested in going out on the town on Saturday night, Make It Fest is hosting their own kind of party, music, hangout at Monk's Bar. They usually do it in that general area of downtown, just so you guys know, so you can avoid it. Oh, burn. Anyways, I don't know. Those rugby guys are ruffians. I tell you. So you guys can enjoy that, and that happening that night as well. Free Cycles of Montana is doing a Jupiter Beat Sasha Bell Band cleaning crew. It's going to be some miscellaneous music and fun times with that. And the Jack Salon is going to have some live music with the Northern Lights Band, some country music. You got some comedy night at the Zootown Arts Community Center tonight, Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. Mohamed Iskele Live in Missoula. Suite 2 is going to be some comedy. Dueling pianos at Stave and Hoop. Solid Sound Karaoke at Westside Lanes Bowling Alley and Fun Center, Mudslide Charters Union Club on Saturday, and Chris Moon every Saturday at the Badlander. So there's a lot of stuff going on here as well. But I also wanted to mention on Sunday is the 4th annual Tutu Trot. And the Tutu Trot is basically you go on a race and you wear a tutu. But even more so, if we talk a little bit more about this, this is the Boys and Girls Club, Missoula County, along with a fantastic sponsor, are proud to host the 4th annual Tutu Trot. It's going to be at Silver Park. Your running still celebrates the 22,000 youths they have in Missoula County, and all funds will go directly back to a kids scholarship fund, providing $115,000 each year in financial assistance to our families, making club accessible to everyone. All right, so that about does it for all the events that are happening this weekend. If you're interested in learning more, you can go to MissoulaEvents.net. MissoulaEvents.net is like, hey, what's going on in Missoula? Just go to MissoulaEvents.net. You kind of see the things that are kind of generally happening. But yeah, a lot of stuff happening in the city of Missoula, a lot of things and programs happening within the library. You guys can check it out by going to the library's website at MissoulaPublicLibrary.org. And also you can find out more information about MCAT going to MCAT.org. We updated our website, and it provides wonderful opportunities for local organizations to go on our website and request a recording for MCAT to do for the community. But we only work with nonprofits and community-driven organizations. So if you're an individual being like, you should just film this, I was like, we don't do that. But if you have a representation from an organization, they can sponsor it, and we can do it for them. And we do it for free. And we provide over $3 million of production for free every year. I mean, there's a lot of money that we just kind of like grant for organizations so we can do these kind of programs and more to provide help for the city of Missoula. So there you go. And for Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramp. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I've talked enough.